Lord Goring.
Ah, my dear old friend. Mrs. Cheveley, allow me to introduce you to Lord Goring, the idlest man in London.
Oh, I've met Lord Goring before.
Oh, I did not think you'd remember me, Mrs. Cheveley.
Oh, my memory is under admirable control. And are you still a bachelor?
Oh, I believe so.
Very romantic.
Oh, I'm not romantic at all. I'm not old enough. I leave romance to my seniors.
Lord Goring is the result of Boodle's Club, Mrs. Cheveley.
No, he reflects every credit on the institution.
May I ask, you stayed in London long?
Well, that depends. Partly on the weather, partly on the cooking, partly on Sir Robert.
You are not going to plunge us in the European war, I hope, Mrs. Cheveley.
Oh, there's no danger at present.
You weren't very late.
Have you missed me?
Oh, awfully.
Well, I'm sorry I did not stay away longer. I like being missed.
Not very selfish.
I am very selfish.
You're always telling me of your bad qualities, Lord Goring.
Oh, I've only told you half of them as yet, Miss Mabel.
Oh, the other's very bad.
Quite dreadful. When I think of them at night, I fall asleep at once.
Well, I delight in your bad qualities. I wouldn't have you part with one of them.
Well, that is very kind of you. But then you are always kind. By the way, Miss Mabel, I want to ask you a question. Who brought Mrs. Cheveley? That woman in scarlet that's just left the room with your brother.
Well, I think Lady Markby brought her. Why do you ask?
Haven't seen her for years, that's all.
What an absurd reason.
All reasons are absurd.
What sort of a woman is she?
Oh, she's a genius in the daytime and a beauty at night.
I dislike her already.
That shows your admirable taste.
Ah, the English young lady is at the dragon of good taste, you know. Quite the dragon of good taste.
So the newspapers are always telling us.
I read all the English newspapers. I find them so amusing.
But then, my dear Nadia, you must certainly learn to read between the lines.
I should like to, but my professor object. May I have the pleasure of escorting you to the music room, mademoiselle?
Delighted, Deacon. Quite delighted. Aren't you coming to the music room?
Not if there's any music going on, Miss Mabel.
The music is in German. You couldn't understand it.
Well, sir, what are you doing here, wasting your time as usual? You should be in bed, sir. You keep 2 long hours. Why, I heard of you the other night at Lady Rufford's, dancing until 4 o'clock in the morning.
Only 4:15, Father.
Can't see how you stand London society. He has gone to the dogs. A lot of damn nobodies talking about nothing.
I love talking about nothing, Father. It's the only thing I know anything about.
It seems to me that you live life entirely for pleasure.
What else is there to live for, Father? Nothing ages like happiness.
You are heartless, sir. Quite heartless.
I hope not, Father. Good evening, Lady Basildon.
Oh, you here? I thought you came to political parties.
I adore political parties. They're the only place left to us where no one talks politics.
I delight in talking politics. I could talk them all day long. I can't stand listening to them. I don't know how the men in the House bear those long debates.
By never listening.
Really?
Of course. You see, it is a very dangerous thing to listen. If one listens, one may be convinced. The man who allows himself to be convinced by an argument is a thoroughly unreasonable person.
That accounts for so much in men that I've never understood, so much in women that their husbands fail to appreciate.
Well, our husbands never appreciate anything in us. We have to go to others for that.
Always have we not?
And those are the views of the 2 ladies known to have the most admirable husbands in London.
Well, that is exactly what we cannot stand. My Reginald is hopelessly thoughtless, and really unendurably so at times. There's not the smallest element of excitement in knowing him.
Oh, how terrible. Really, the thing should be more widely known.
Basildon is quite as bad. He's as domestic as if he were a bachelor.
My poor Olivia, we have married perfect husbands, so we are well punished for it.
Should have thought it was the husbands who were punished.
Dinner. They're as happy as possible. And as for trusting us, well, it's quite tragic how much they trust us.
Perfectly tragic.
Or comic, Lady Basildon.
Certainly not, Lord Goring. Why would you just suggest such a thing?
I'm afraid Lord Goring is in the camp of the enemy as usual. I saw him talking to that Mrs. Cheveley when he came in.
Handsome woman, Mrs. Cheveley.
Please, do not praise other women in our presence. You might wait for us to do that.
I did wait.
Well, we're not going to praise her. I heard she went to the opera on Monday night and told Tommy Trafford, as far as she could see, London society was made up entirely of dowdies and dandies.
And she's quite right too. The men are all dowdies and the women are all dandies, aren't they?
I
very sensible remark. Mrs. Cheely's made too.
Why are you talking about Mrs. Cheely? Everybody is talking about Mrs. Cheely. Lord Goring says... What did you say, Lord Goring, about Mrs. Cheely? Oh, I remember. That she was a genius in the daytime and a beauty at night.
Oh, what a horrid combination.
Very unnatural.
I like looking at geniuses and listening to beautiful people.
Oh, that is morbid of you, Mrs. Marchmont.
I'm so glad to hear you say that. Marchmont and I have been married 7 years and not once has he called me morbid. Men are so painfully unobservant.
I would say you're the most morbid person in London.
Oh, but Olivia, you have always been sympathetic.
Is it morbid to have desire for food? I have a great desire for food. Lord Goring, will you give me some supper?
With pleasure, Miss.
How horrid you have been. You have never talked to me the whole evening.
How could I? You left the room with that child diplomatist.
You might have followed us. Pursuit would have been only polite. I don't think I like you at all this evening.
I like you immensely.
Well, I wish you should in a more marked way.
Oh,
Oh, good night, Lord Goring. I'm at Claridge's. Don't you think you might leave a card?
If you wish it, Mrs. Cheely.
Don't be so solemn about it, or I'll be obliged to leave a card on you. I suppose in England that would hardly be considered en règle. Abroad we're more civilised. Well, won't you see me down, Sir Robert? Now that we both have the same interests at heart, we shall be great friends, I hope.
What a horrid woman.
You should go to bed, Miss Maidstone.
Oh, Goring.
My father told me to go to bed an hour ago. I don't see why I shouldn't give you the same advice. I always pass on good advice. It's the only thing to do with it. It is never of any use to oneself.
Lord Goring, you always ordering me out of the room. I think it most gracious, especially as I am not going to bed for hours. You can come and sit down if you like, and talk to me about anything in the world except the Royal Academy, Mrs. Cheely, or novels in Scotch style. They are not improving subjects. Oh, what is this? Someone has dropped a diamond brooch. Quite beautiful, isn't it? I wish it was mine, but Gertrude won't let me wear anything but pearls, and I'm thoroughly sick of pearls. They make one look so plain, so good, and so intellectual. I wonder who the brooch belongs to.
I wonder who drops it.
It is a beautiful brooch.
It is a handsome bracelet.
It isn't a bracelet, it's a brooch.
It can be used as a bracelet.
What are you doing?
Miss Mabel, I'm going to make a rather strange request to you.
Oh, pretty, I've been waiting for it all evening.
Should anyone write and claim it, let me know at once.
That's a strange request.
Well, you see, I gave this brooch to someone years ago.
You did?
Yes.
Then I shall certainly bid you. Good night. Good night, Gertrude.
Oh, good night, dear. You saw whom Lady Markby brought in this evening.
Yes, it was an unpleasant surprise. What did she come here for?
Apparently to try to lure Robert into upholding some fraudulent scheme in which he's interested. The Argentine Canal, in fact.
She has mistaken her man, hasn't she?
She is incapable of understanding an upright nature like my husband's.
Yes, I should fancy Mrs. Cheely would come to grief if she tries to get Robert into her toils. It is extraordinary what astounding mistakes clever women make.
I don't call women of that kind clever. I call them stupid.
Same thing, often. Good night, Lady Chiltern.
My dear Arthur, you're not going, are you? Do stop a little.
Afraid I can't, thanks. I've promised looking at the Heart Box this evening. They've got a Mo Hungarian band that plays Mo Hungarian music. See you soon. Goodbye. Looks no better. But no man should have a secret from his own wife. She invariably finds out. Women have a wonderful instinct about things. They can discover everything except the obvious.
I couldn't tell my wife. When could I have told her? Not last night. It would have made a lifelong separation between us. And I would have lost enough. The one woman in the world whom I worship. Of the only woman who's ever stirred love within me. No, last night it would have been quite impossible. She'd have turned from me in horror and contempt.
Is Lady Chiltern really as perfect as all that?
Yes, my wife is as perfect as all that.
What a pity. No, I beg your pardon, my dear fellow. I didn't quite mean that. But if what you tell me is true, I should like to have a very serious talk about life with Lady Chiltern.
I
fear it will be quite useless.
Well, may I try?
Yes, but nothing will make her alter her views.
At worst, it would simply be a psychological experiment.
All such experiments are terribly dangerous.
Everything is dangerous, my dear fellow. If it wasn't so, life wouldn't be worth living. Well, I am bound to say, I think you should have told her years ago.
What? We were engaged. Do you think, Arthur, that she would have married me? She should have known that the basis of my career is such as it is. That the origin of my wealth is such as it is. And that I had done a thing that I suppose most men would call shameful and dishonourable.
Yes, most men would call it ugly names. There is no doubt of that.
Men who, each of them, do something of the same kind themselves every day. Men who, each of them, have worse secrets in their own lives.
Well, that is why they're so pleased to find out other people's secrets. It distracts public attention from their own.
After all, who did I wrong by what I did? No one.
Except yourself, Robert.
Of course, they had private information about a certain transaction contemplated by the government of the day, and they acted on it. Private information is practically the source of every large modern fortune.
And public scandal invariably the result.
Ah, but you think that what I did only 18 years ago should come up against me now? I was 18 at the time, and I had the double misfortune of being well-born and poor. To unforgivable things nowadays. To make it fair that the folly, the sin of one's youth, if men choose to call it a sin, should come up against me now, should place me in the pillory, should shatter all that I've worked for, all that I've built up. Is it fair, Arthur?
Life is never fair, Robert. Perhaps it is a good thing for most of us that it is not.
Every man in ambition has the right to fight this century with its own weapons. What this century worships is wealth. The god of this century is wealth. To succeed, one must have wealth at all costs. One must have wealth.
You underrate yourself, Robert. Believe me, without wealth, you would have succeeded just as well.
When I was old, perhaps. When I'd lost my passion for power and could not use it. When I was tired, worn out, disappointed. I wanted my success when I was young. Youth is the time for success. I couldn't wait.
Well, you've certainly had your success while you're still young. No one in our days had such a brilliant success. Under-Secretary for Foreign Affairs by the age of 40. That's good enough for anyone, I should think.
And if it is all taken away from me now, if I lose everything because of this horrible scandal, if I'm hounded from public life.
Robert, how could you have sold yourself for money?
I didn't sell myself for money. I bought success at a great price, that is all.
Yes, you certainly paid a great price for it. But what first made you think of doing such a thing?
Baron Arnheim.
Damn scoundrel.
No, he was a man of a subtle and refined intellect. A man of culture, charm and distinction. One of the most intellectual men that I've ever met.
I prefer a gentleman full any day. But there is a lot more to be said for stupidity than people imagine. Firstly, I have a great admiration for stupidity. It is a sort of fellow feeling, I suppose. Tell me, how did he do it? Tell me the whole thing.
It was after dinner one night at Lord Radcliffe's. The Baron began talking about success in modern life as something that could be reduced to an absolute definite science. I think he saw the effect that it had on me, for after dinner he wrote to me and asked me to come and see him. He was living then in Park Lane in the house Lord Walcombe lives now. I remember it so well as he showed me through his wonderful picture gallery, showed me his tapestries, his enamels, his jewels, his carved ivories, made me wonder at the strange loveliness of the luxury in which he lived. And then he told me that power over men, power over the world was the one thing worth having, the one supreme pleasure worth knowing, and that in this day and age, only the rich possess it.
A thoroughly shallow creed.
No, I didn't think so then, I don't think so now. Wealth has given me enormous power. It has given me from the very outset of my life freedom, and freedom is everything. You have never been poor, or known what ambition is. You cannot begin to imagine what a wonderful chance the Baron gave me. Such a chance as few men get.
Fortunately for them, if one is judged by the results. But tell me definitely, how did the Baron finally persuade you to, well, to do what you did?
When I was leaving, the Baron told me that if I could give him any private information of any real value, he'd make me a very rich man. I was dazed at the prospect he held out to me. My passion for power and my ambition were in those days boundless. 6 weeks later, certain private documents passed through my hands.
State documents?
Yes.
I had no idea that you, of all men in the world, could have been so weak, Robert, as to yield to such a temptation as Baron Arnheim held out to you. Weak, yes, weak.
I'm sick of hearing that word, sick of using it against others. Do you think, Arthur, that it is weakness that yields to temptation? I tell you, there are terrible temptations that require strength and courage to yield to stake all of one's life on a single moment, to risk everything on a single throw, whether the stake be power or pleasure, I care not. There is no weakness in that. There is a horrible, terrible courage. And I had that courage. I sat down that very afternoon and wrote Baron Arnheim the letter this woman now holds. He made $750,000 out of the transaction.
And you?
I received from the Baron 110,000.
You were worth more, Robert.
No, that money gave me exactly what I wanted. Power over others. I went into the house immediately. The Baron advised me on finance from time to time. Within 5 years, I almost trebled my fortune. And with all matters concerning money, I had a luck so extraordinary that sometimes it made me almost afraid.
But tell me, Robert, did you never suffer any regret for what you had done?
No, I thought I'd fought the world with his own weapons and won.
But you thought you'd won?
Yes, I thought I had. Arthur, do you despise me for what I've told you?
Well, I'm very sorry for you, Robert. Very sorry indeed.
I don't say that I suffered any remorse. I didn't. Not remorse in the ordinary, rather silly sense of the word. But I've played conscience money many times. I had wild hopes I might disarm destiny. The sum Baron Arnheim gave me, I've distributed twice over in public charities since then.
Public charities? Dear me, Robert, what a lot of harm you must have done.
Don't say that, Arthur. Don't talk like that.
Oh, never mind what I say. I'm always saying what I shouldn't. In fact, I usually say what I really think. Great mistake nowadays. It leaves one so liable to be misunderstood. But as regards this dreadful business, I will help you in whatever way I can. Of course you know that.
Oh, thank you, Arthur, thank you. But what is to be done? What can be done?
Well, the English can't stand a man who is always saying he's in the right. They are very fond of a man who admits when he's been in the wrong. It's one of the best things in them. But in your case, Robert, a confession would not do. The money, if you will allow me to say so, is awkward. And besides, if you did make a clean breast of the whole affair, you would never be able to talk morality again. And in England, a man who cannot talk morality twice a week to a large, popular, immoral audience is quite over as a serious politician. There will be nothing left for him except for botany or the church. No, a confession would not do. It would ruin you.
It would ruin me. No, the only thing for me to do now, Arthur, is to fight the thing out.
Yes, I've been waiting for you to say that. And you must start by telling your wife the whole thing at once.
That I will not do.
Believe me, Robert, you are wrong.
I couldn't do it. It would kill her love for me. But now, about this woman, Mrs. Cheveley. How can I defend myself against her? You knew her before, apparently.
Yes.
Did you know her well?
So it's like I got engaged to be married to her once when I was staying at the Thames. The affair lasted for 3 days, nearly.
Well, why was it broken off?
No, I forget. But at least it makes no matter. By the way, have you tried her with money? She used to be confoundedly fond of money.
I offered her any sum she wanted. She refused.
Well then the marvellous gospel of gold breaks down sometimes. The rich can't do everything after all.
No, not everything. You were right, Arthur. I feel that public disgrace is in store for me. I know it. I'm certain of it. I never knew what fear was. I know it now. It is as if a hand of ice had been put upon one's heart. It is as if one's heart were beating itself to death in some empty hollow.
Robert, you must fight, sir. You must fight.
But how?
I can't tell you how at present. I've not the smallest idea. But everyone has some weak point. There's some flaw in each one of us. My father even says that I have faults. Perhaps I have. I don't know.
In defending myself against Mrs. Cheveley, I have the right to use any weapon I can find, have I not?
In your case, I wouldn't have the smallest scruple in doing so. She's thoroughly well able to take care of herself.
Well, then I shall send a cipher telegram to the embassy of Vienna and see if there is anything known against her. There might be some secret scandal she might be afraid of.
Yes, but I should fancy Mrs. Cheveley is one of those very modern women of our time who finds a new scandal as becoming as a new bonnet, and they're both in the park every afternoon at 5:30. Yes, I'm sure she adores scandals. That the only sorrow of her life at present is that she can't seem to have enough.
Why do you say that?
Well, she wore far too much rouge last night, and not quite enough clothes. That is always a sign of despair in a woman.
But it is worthwhile I am writing to Vienna, is it not?
It's always worthwhile asking a question, though it is not always worthwhile answering one.
Is this the trapper in the room?
Yes, Sir Robert.
Have him send it off to the embassy of Vienna at once. There must not be a moment's delay.
Yes, Sir Robert.
She must have had some curious hold over the Baron. I wonder what it was.
I wonder.
I will fight her to the death as long as my wife knows nothing.
No, fight in any case, Robert, in any case.
If my wife found out, there'd be little left to fight for. Oh, well, as soon as I hear from Vienna, I shall let you know the outcome. There is a chance, just a chance, but I'm certain of it. And as I fought the war with his own weapons, I shall fight Mrs. Chidley with her own weapons. It is only fair. And after all, she looks like a woman with a past, doesn't she?
Most pretty women do, but there is a fashion in past, just as there is a fashion in frocks. Perhaps Mrs. Cheveley's past is merely a slightly décolleté one. They are excessively popular nowadays. Besides, my dear Robert, I should not build too high hopes on frightening Mrs. Cheveley. I don't fancy Mrs. Cheveley as a woman who is easily frightened. She has survived all of her predators and shows a wonderful presence of mind.
Live on hopes now. I take much at every chance. I'm like a man that is on a ship that is sinking. There is water around my feet, and the very air is bitter with storm. Hush, I hear my wife's voice.
Good afternoon, Lord Goring.
Good afternoon, Lady Chilton. Have you been in the park?
No, I have just come from the Women's Liberal Association, where, by the way, Robert, your name was received with loud applause. And I've just come in to have my tea. You will wait and have tea, won't you?
I'll wait a short time, thanks.
I will be just a moment. I'm only going to take my hat off.
Oh, please don't. Why, it is so pretty. It's one of the prettiest hats I ever saw. I hope the Women's Liberal Association received it with loud applause.
We have much more important work to do than look at each other's bonnets, Lord Goring.
Really? What sort of work?
Not dull, youthful, delightful things, factory acts, female inspectors, the 8 Hours Bill, parliamentary franchise. Everything, in fact, that you would find thoroughly uninteresting.
And never bonnets?
Never bonnets. Never.
You've been a thoroughly good friend to me, Arthur, a thoroughly good friend.
I don't think I've been able to do much for you, Robert, as yet. In fact, I don't think I've been able to do anything as far as I can see it. I'm thoroughly disappointed with myself.
You've enabled me to tell the truth, and that is something. The truth has always stifled me.
The truth is something I get rid of as soon as possible.
Would to God I'd been able to tell the truth, to live the truth. Yes, that is the great thing in life, Arthur, to live the truth. I shall see you again soon, shan't I?
Certainly, whenever you like. I'm going to pop into the bachelor's ball tonight, unless I find something better to do. But I'll be around tomorrow morning. Should you want me tonight by any chance, send a note round to Curzon Street.
Thank you.
No, you are not going, Robert.
I have some letters to write, dear.
You work too hard, Robert. You seem never to think of yourself, and you're looking so tired.
It is nothing, dear, nothing.
Do sit down. I am so glad you called. I want to talk to you about, well, not about bonnets or the Women's Liberal Association. You take far too much interest in the first subject and not nearly enough in the second.
You want to talk to me about Mrs. Cheveley?
Yes, you have guessed it. Yesterday, after she had gone, I found out that what she had said was really true. Of course, I made Robert write her a letter at once, withdrawing his promise.
So he gave me to understand.
To have kept it would have been the first stain on a career that has been stainless always. Robert must be above reproach. He cannot afford to do what other men do. Don't you agree with me? You are Robert's greatest friend. You are our greatest friend, Lord Goring. No one except myself knows Robert better than you do. He has no secrets from me, and I don't think he has any from you.
He certainly has none from me. But at least I don't think so.
Then am I not right in my estimate of him? I know I am right, but speak to me frankly.
Quite frankly,
Surely you have nothing to conceal, have you?
nothing. But Lady Chilton, if you will allow me, I think that in practical life...
Of which you know so little, Lord Goring.
Of which I know nothing by experience, but I do know something by observation. I think that in practical life there is something about success, actual success, that is a little unscrupulous. Something about ambition that is unscrupulous always. Once a man has set his heart and soul on reaching a certain point, if he must climb the crag, he climbs the crag. If he has to walk through the mire,
Well,
he walks through the mire. I'm only talking generally about life.
I hope so. Why do you look at me so strangely, Lord Goring?
Lady Chilton, I've sometimes thought that perhaps you are a little hard in some of your views on life. I think that maybe you don't make sufficient allowances. In every nature there are elements of weakness, or worse than weakness. Well, supposing, for instance, that any public man, my father, or Lord Merton, or Robert, say, had years ago written some foolish letter to someone.
What do you mean by a foolish letter?
A letter gravely compromising one's position. I'm only putting an imaginary case.
Robert is as incapable of doing a foolish thing as he is of doing a wrong thing.
No one is incapable of doing a foolish thing. No one is incapable of doing a wrong thing.
I'm a pessimist. What will the other dandies say? They will all have to go into mourning.
No, Lady Chiltern, I'm not a pessimist. Indeed, I'm not quite sure if I know what pessimism really means. All I do know is that life cannot be understood without much charity. It cannot be lived without much charity. It is love, not German philosophy, that is the true explanation of this world, whatever may be the explanation of the next. But if you are ever in trouble, Lady Chiltern, trust me absolutely, and I will help you in whatever way I can. If you want me, come to me for my assistance, and you shall have it. Come at once to me.
Lord Goring, you are talking quite seriously. I don't think I've ever heard you talk seriously before.
Well, you must excuse me, Lady Chiltern. It won't occur again. I can help it.
But I like you to be serious. Dear Gertrude, don't say such a dreadful thing to Lord Goring. Seriousness will be very unbecoming to him. Good afternoon, Lord Goring. Please, be as trivial as you can.
Oh, I should like to, Miss Mabel. So I'm a little out of practice this morning. And besides, I must be going now.
Just when I have come in, what dreadful manners you have. I am sure you were very badly brought up.
I was.
I wish I had brought you up.
I'm so sorry you didn't.
It is too late now, I suppose.
Oh, I'm not so sure.
Will you ride tomorrow morning?
Yes, at 10.
Don't forget.
Of course I shan't. By the way, Lady Chiltern, there is no list of your guests in the Morning Post of today. It's apparently been crowded out by the County Council or the Lambeth Conference, something equally boring. May I have a copy of that list? I'm asking for a particular reason.
I'm sure Mr. Trafford will be able to give you one.
Thanks so much.
Tommy is the most useful person in London.
And who is the most ornamental?
I am.
How clever of you to guess it. Goodbye, Lady Chiltern. You will remember what I said to you, won't you?
Yes. But I don't know why you said it to me.
I hardly know myself. Goodbye, Miss Mabel.
Oh, I wish you were not going. I have had 4 wonderful adventures this morning. 4 and a half, in fact. You might stop and listen to some of them.
How selfish of you to have 4.5 adventures. There won't be any left for me.
I don't want you to have any. They would not be good for you.
Well, that is the first unkind thing you have ever said to me. How charming you said it. 10 tomorrow?
Sharp.
Quite sharp. And don't bring Mr. Trafford.
Of course that's sharp being Tommy Trafford. Tommy Trafford is in great disgrace.
I'm delighted to hear it. Got my second buttonhole for me, Fitz?
Yes, my lord.
Rather distinguished thing, Fitz. I'm the only person of the smallest importance in London at present who wears a buttonhole.
Yes, my lord. I have observed that.
See, fashion is what one wears oneself. What is unfashionable is what other people wear.
Yes, my lord.
Just as vulgarity is merely the conduct of others.
Yes, my lord.
And falseness the truths of others.
Yes, my lord.
Other people are quite dreadful. The only possible society is oneself.
Yes, my lord.
To love oneself, Phillips, is the beginning of a lifelong romance.
Yes, my lord.
Not sure I quite like this buttonhole, Phipps. Makes me look a little too old. Almost in the prime of life, eh, Phipps?
I don't observe any alteration in your lordship's appearance.
You don't?
No, my lord.
I'm not quite so sure. In future, a more trivial buttonhole, Phipps, for Thursday evenings.
I will speak to the florist, my lord. She has had a loss in her family lately, which perhaps accounts for the lack of triviality your lordship may want.
The extraordinary thing about the lower classes of England, they're always losing their relations.
Yes, my lord. They are extremely fortunate in that.
Beautiful bit.
3, my lord.
Want my cab round in 20 minutes.
Yes, my lord.
Fitz, when did this letter arrive?
It was brought by hand just after your lordship left for the club.
That will do. Lady Chiltern's handwriting on Lady Chiltern's pink newspaper. Well, this is rather curious. I thought Robert was to write. What she's got to say to me. I want you, I trust you, I'm coming to you, Gertrude. I want you, I trust you, I'm coming to you. Oh, she has found out everything. Poor woman, poor woman. What now to call? 10 o'clock? I shall have to get up going to the Berkshires. But it is always nice to be expected and not to arrive. I am not expected at the Bachelors, so I shall certainly go there. Well, we'll make her stand by her husband. It's the only thing for her to do. It's the only thing for any woman to do. This is the growth of the moral sense in women, and the marriage such a hopeless one-sided institution. 10 o'clock. She should be here soon. I must tell Pips I mean to see no one else.
Lord Caversham.
I do, parents always appear at the wrong time. Extraordinary mistake in nature. I'm delighted to see you, my dear father.
Take my cloak off.
Well, is it worthwhile, father?
Of course it is worthwhile. Which is the most comfortable chair?
Oh, this chair, father, is the one I use myself when I have visitors.
So, thank you. No draughts, I hope, in this room?
No, father.
Glad to hear it. Can't stand draughts. No draughts at home.
Good many breezes, though, eh, father?
Hey? Don't understand what you mean. Want to have a serious conversation with you, sir?
Oh, my dear father, at this hour.
Well, sir, it is only 10 o'clock. What is your objection to the hour? I think the hour is an admirable hour.
Well, the fact is, father, this is not my day for talking seriously. I'm very sorry, but this is not my day.
What do you mean?
During the season, father, I only talk seriously on the first Tuesday of every month between 4 and 7.
Then make it Tuesday, sir. Make it Tuesday.
But it is after 7, father. My doctor says I must not have any serious conversation after 7. Makes me talk in my sleep.
Talk in your sleep? What does that matter? You're not married.
Well, no, father, I'm not married.
That is what I've come to talk to you about, sir. You have got to get married, and at once. Why, when I was your age, I'd been an inconsolable widower for 3 months and was already paying my addresses to your admirable mother. Young sir, it's your duty to get married. You cannot live life for pleasure. Every man of position is married nowadays. Bachelors are not fashionable anymore. They are a damaged lot. Too much is known about. You have got to get a wife, sir. To see where your friend Robert Chilton has got to by probity, hard work, and a sensible marriage to a good woman. Why can you not imitate him, sir? Why can you not take him as your model?
But I think I shall, father.
Well, I wish you would. Then I could be happy. At present, I make your mother's life a misery on your account. You're heartless, sir. Quite heartless.
I hope not, father.
And it is high time you got married. You're 36 years of age, sir.
Yes, but I only admit to 34. 33 and a half, and I've got a really good buttonhole. This buttonhole is not trivial enough.
I say you are 36, sir. And there is a draft in this room besides, which makes your conduct worse. Why did you say there was no draft, sir? I can feel a draft, sir. I can feel it distinctly.
So do I, father. It is a dreadful draft. I'll come round tomorrow, father. We can talk about anything you like. Let me help you on with your cloak, father.
No, sir. I have called this evening for a definite purpose. And I am going to see it through at all costs to my health or yours.
Oh, run it off.
Oh, take it off.
Oh. Okay, father, let's go to another room. There was a dreadful draft in here. Ah, Phipps, is there a good fire in the smoking room?
Yes, my lord.
Let us go in there, father. Your sneezes are quite heart-rending.
Well, sir, I suppose I have the right to sneeze when I choose.
Quite so, father. I was merely expressing sympathy.
Oh, damn sympathy. There's far too much of that sort of thing going on nowadays.
I quite agree, father. If there was less sympathy in the world, there would be less trouble in them.
That is a paradox, sir. I hate paradoxes.
Well, so do I, father. Everybody one meets nowadays is a paradox. Spread law makes society so obvious.
Do you really always understand what you say, sir?
Yes, father. If I listen attentively.
If you listen attentively, conceited young puppy. That's you.
Phipps, there is a lady coming to see me this evening on particular business. When she arrives, show her into the drawing room, you understand?
Yes, my lord.
It is a matter of the gravest importance, Phipps.
Yeah, I understand, my lord.
No one else is to be admitted under any circumstances.
I understand, my lord.
Ah, that's probably the lady. I shall see her myself.
Well, sir, am I to wait attendance on you?
Just a moment, Father. Do excuse me. Remember what I said, Phipps? Into that room.
Yes, my lord.
My dear Father, if I must get married, surely you'll allow me to choose the time, place, and person, particularly the person.
That is a matter for me, sir. You would probably make a very poor choice. It is I that should be consulted, not you. There is property at stake. This is no time for affection. Affection comes later on in married life.
Yes, affection comes when two people thoroughly dislike each other, Father, doesn't it?
Certainly, sir. I mean, certainly not, sir. Not talking very foolishly tonight. What I say is that marriage is more for common sense.
But women who have common sense, Father, are so curiously plain, aren't they? Of course, I only speak from hearsay.
No woman, plain or pretty, has any common sense at all, sir. Common sense is the privilege of our sex.
Quite so, Father. And we men are so self-sacrificing, we never use it, do we, Father?
Well, I use, sir. I use nothing else.
So Mother tells me.
It is the seat of your mother's happiness. You are heartless, sir. Quite heartless.
I hope not, Father.
Oh, my dear Arthur, what a piece of good luck meeting you on the doorstep. Your servant told me you were not at home. How extraordinary.
But the fact is, Robert, I'm horribly busy tonight, so I gave orders that I was at home to no one. My father received a comparatively cold reception. He complained of a draft the whole time.
You must be at home to me, Arthur, you must. You are my best friend, but perhaps by tomorrow you'll be my only friend. My wife has discovered everything.
Ah, I'd guessed as much.
Really? How?
Merely by something on the expression on your face when you came in. Who told her?
Mrs. Cheveley herself. And now the woman I love knows that I began my career with an act of low dishonesty, that I built my life up upon sands of shame, that I sold, like a common huckster, the secret that was entrusted to me as a man of honour. I thank heaven poor Lord Radley died without knowing that I betrayed him. I would to God I had died before I'd been so horribly tempted, or had fallen so low.
You've heard nothing yet from Vienna in response to your wire?
Yes, I received a telegram from her secretary at 8 o'clock tonight.
Well?
Nothing is absolutely known against her. On the contrary, she occupies a rather high position in society. It's sort of an open secret that Baron Arnheim left her the greater portion of his immense fortune. Beyond that, I can learn nothing.
She doesn't turn out to be a spy, then?
Oh, spies are of no use to us nowadays. Their profession is over. The newspapers do their work instead.
And thunderingly well they do it.
Arthur, I'm pass through first. May I bring for something? Some hot and seltzer?
Certainly, let...
Thank you. Oh, I don't know what to do, Arthur. I just don't know what to do. You are my only friend. What a friend you are. The only friend I can trust. I can trust you absolutely.
Dear Robert, of course. Some hot and seltzer.
Yes, my lord.
Oh, Fitz. Robert, will you excuse me a moment? I want to give some directions to my servant.
Yes, certainly.
When that lady arrives, tell her that I'm not expected home this evening. Tell her that I've been called out of town. You understand?
The lady is in that room, my lord. You told me to show her into that room, my lord.
Well, you did perfectly right. Oh, what a mistiming. No, I think I should get through it. I'll give her a lecture through the door. Awkward thing to manage, though.
Right. Tell me, what should I do? My life seems to have crumbled about me. I'm a ship without a rudder on a night without a star.
Robert, you love your wife, don't you?
I love her more than anything in the world. I used to think ambition the great thing. It is not. Love is the great thing in the world. There is nothing but love, and I love her. And I'm defamed in her eyes. I'm ignoble in her eyes. She has found me out, Arthur. She has found me out.
Has Lady Chiltern never in her life done some folly, some indiscretion that she may not forgive your sin?
My wife? Never. She does not know what weakness nor temptation is. I'm of clay like other men. She stands apart as good women do. pitiless in her perfection, cold and stern and without mercy. But I love her, Arthur, and she's cut my heart in two, but don't let us talk of it. I was brutal to her this evening, Arthur, brutal. But I suppose when sinners talk to saints, they are brutal always. I said to her things that were hideously true from my point, from my standpoint, from the standpoint of men, but don't let us talk of it.
Robert, your wife will forgive you. Perhaps at this very moment she is forgiving you.
God grant it, God grant it. But listen, I've made up my mind and I'm going to say that.
Hopkins, sir.
Thank you.
Robert, is your cab here?
No, I walked from the club.
So Robert will take my carriage slips.
Yes, my lord.
Robert, you don't mind my sending you away, do you?
After you know, you must let me stay for another 5 minutes. Listen, I've made up my mind what I'm going to say in the house tonight. The debate on the Argentine Canal begins at 11. What was that?
Nothing.
I heard a chair fall in the other room. Someone has been listening.
No. There was no one.
There is someone. Look, the lights are on in the room and the door is ajar. After somebody has been listening to every secret of my life. What does this mean?
Robert, you are excited. Unnerved. There is no one in that room. Sit down, Robert.
Julie, your word, there is no one there?
Yes.
Your word of honour?
Yes.
Then let me see for myself.
No.
I insist on going into that room. If there is no one there, then why should I not look in that room? After you must let me go into that room and satisfy myself. Let me know that no eavesdropper has heard my life's secrets. After you don't know what I'm going through.
Robert, I have told you that there is no one in that room now. That is enough.
This is not enough. I insist on going into that room. You said there is no one there, so what reason did you have for denying me?
For God's sake, don't. There is someone in there. Someone whom you must not see.
I thought so.
I forbid you to enter that room.
Stand back, sir. My life is at stake. I don't care who is there, although who is the whom I told my secret of my shame.
Great heavens. His own wife.
What explanation have you to give me for the presence of that woman here?
Robert, I swear on my honour that that woman is guiltless and stainless of all offence toward you.
Oh, she is a vile and infamous thing.
No, don't say that. It was you she came here. It was to try and save you she came here. She loves you and no one else.
You are mad. What have I to do with her intrigues with you? Let her remain your mistress. You are both well thinking. She, corrupt and shameful. You, false as a friend, treacherous as an enemy. Even if
It's not true. Before heaven, this is not true.
Let me
In
pass.
her friend defending yours, I will explain.
Let me pass, sir. You have lied enough to me upon your word of honour.
Robert.
Good evening, Lord Goring.
Mrs. Cheeley? Oh, great heavens. Mind telling me what you're doing in my drawing room?
Merely listening. One has a perfect passion for listening through keyholes. One always hears the most wonderful things through them.
Doesn't that sound rather like tempting Providence?
Surely Providence can resist temptation by this time.
I'm glad you have called. I'm going to give you some good advice.
So pray don't. One should never give a woman anything she can't wear in the evening.
I see you're still as willful as you used to be.
Far more. Greatly improved. I've had more experience.
You've come here to sell me Robert Chilton's letter, haven't you?
To offer it to you on conditions. How did you guess?
Because you haven't mentioned the subject. Have you got it with you?
Oh no. Well-made dress has no pockets.
What is your price for it?
Oh, how absurdly English you are. The English think a checkbook can solve every problem in life. Why, my dear Arthur, I have far more money than you have. Just as much as Robert Chilton has got hold of. Money is not what I want.
What do you want then, Mrs. Cheeley?
Why don't you call me Laura?
I don't like the name.
I used to adore it.
Yes, that's why.
Arthur, you loved me once.
Yes.
And you asked me to be your wife.
Well, that was the natural result of my loving you.
And then you threw me over because you saw, or said you saw, poor old Lord Mortlake trying to have a violent flirtation with me in the conservatory at Denby.
I'm under the impression that my lawyer settled that matter with you on certain terms dictated by yourself.
Well, at that time, I was poor and you were rich.
Well, quite so. That's why you pretended to love me.
Poor old Lord Mortlake. You had only two topics of conversation, his gout and his wife. I never could quite work out which of the two he was talking about. There's vile language about them both. Oh, well, Arthur, you were silly. What Maudley needed an amusement. One of those utterly tedious amusements one only finds at an English country house on an English country Sunday. And I don't think anyone at all morally responsible for anything he or she does at an English country house.
Yes, I know lots of people think that.
I loved you, Arthur.
My dear Mrs. Ch, you have boys too clever to know anything about love.
I did love you. And you loved me. You know you loved me. Love is a very wonderful thing. Suppose that when a man has once loved a woman, he'll do anything for her, except continue to love her.
Yes. Except that.
I'm tired of living abroad. I want to move back to London. I want to have a charming house here. I want to have a salon. If only one could teach the English how to talk and the Irish how to listen. Society here would be quite civilised. Besides, I've reached the romantic stage. Oh, when I saw you at the Chilterns last night, I knew you were the only person I've ever cared for, Arthur. If I've ever cared for anyone. And so, on the morning of the day you marry me, I will give you Robert Chiltern's letter. Well, that's my offer. I'll give it to you now, if you promise to marry me.
Now?
Tomorrow.
Well, I should make you a very bad husband.
Oh, I don't mind bad husbands. I've had two. They amuse me immensely.
You mean to say you amuse yourself immensely, don't you?
Well, what do you know about my married life?
I can read it like a book.
What book?
The book of numbers.
I think it very charming of you to be so rude to a woman in your own house.
In the case of very fascinating women, sex is a challenge, not a defence.
I suppose that's meant as a compliment. Oh, why, my dear Arthur, women are never disarmed by compliments. Men always are.
Women are never disarmed by anything, as far as I know them.
So, you are going to allow your greatest friend, Robert Chiltern, to be ruined, rather than marry someone who really has considerable attractions left. I thought you would have risen to some greater height of self-sacrifice, Arthur. I think you should. And then you can go on for the rest of your days contemplating your own perfections.
Well, I do that as it is. And self-sacrifice is a thing that should be put down by law. It's so demoralising to the people for whom one sacrifices oneself. They always go to the bad.
As if anything could demoralise Robert Chiltern. You seem to forget that I know his real character.
What you know about Robert Chiltern is not his real character. It was an act of folly done in his youth. Shameful, I admit. Unworthy of him, I admit, and therefore not his true character.
How you men stand up for each other.
How you women war against each other.
Oh, I only war against one woman. Against Gertrude Chiltern. I hate her. I hate her now more than ever.
Because you brought a real tragedy into her life, I suppose.
Oh, no. The only tragedy in a woman's life is the fact that her past is always her lover, and her future, invariably her husband.
Lady Chiltern knows nothing of the life to which you are alluding.
Well, Arthur, I suppose this romantic interview may be considered as at an end. To admit it was romantic, don't you? For the privilege of being your wife, I was ready to surrender a great prize, the climax of my diplomatic career. You decline. Very well. If Sir Robert doesn't uphold the Argentine scheme, I expose him. Voila, two.
But you mustn't do that. That would be vile. Horrible. Infamous.
Oh, don't use such big words. They mean so little. It's a commercial transaction, that is all. So good mixing up sentimentality in it. And I offered to sell Robert Chiltern a certain thing. You won't pay my price. You have to pay the world a greater price. Well, that's all there is to it. I must be going. Good night. Won't you shake hands?
With you? No. Your transaction with Robert Chiltern may pass as a loathsome commercial transaction. But you forget you came here tonight to talk of love. You whose lips desecrates the word love. You to whom the things of books so closely sealed went this afternoon to the house of one of the most noble and gentle women of the world, to degrade her husband in her eyes, to try and kill her love for him, to try and poison her heart, put bitterness in her life, break her idol maybe, and even spoil her soul. For that I cannot forgive. That was horrible. For that there is no forgiveness.
You are unjust to me. Believe me, you're quite unjust to me. I didn't go to taunt Gertrude at all. I went with Lady Markby simply to see if an ornament of mine had been found somewhere last night at the Chilterns. You can ask Lady Markby, she'll tell you it's true. I went, a little out of malice, if you like, but really to see if a diamond brooch of mine had been found. Well, that's the origin of the whole thing.
A diamond snake brooch with a ruby?
Yes, how did you know?
Because it is found. Point of fact, I found it myself and stupidly forgot to tell the butler before I left. Is this the ornament?
Yes, I'm so glad to have it back. It was a present.
Won't you wear it?
Yes, if you'll pin it in for me.
Certain.
Why do you put it on as a bracelet? I never knew it could be worn as a bracelet.
Really?
It looks quite well on me as a bracelet, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's much better than when I saw it last.
When did you see it last?
Oh, about 10 years ago on Lady Berkshire, from whom you stole it.
I don't know what you mean.
I mean say that you stole that ornament from my cousin Mary Berkshire, to whom I gave it when she was married. Suspicion fell on a wretched servant and she was sent away in disgrace. I saw it last night and determined not to tell anyone until I had found it. I have found the thief now and heard her own confession.
It's not true.
Why, you know it is true. Thief is written across your face at this very moment.
I'll deny the whole thing from beginning to end. I'll say I've never seen this wretched thing before in my life. It was never in my possession. Damn!
Oh, the drawback to stealing a thing, Mrs. Sheevey, is that one never knows how wonderful the thing that one steals is. You can't get that bracelet off unless you know where the spring is. I see you don't know where the spring is. It is rather difficult to find, isn't it?
You brute! You coward!
Oh, don't use big words. They mean so little.
What are you going to do?
I am going to ring for my servant. He's an admirable servant, always comes when the moment when one brings for him. When he does, I'll ask him to fetch the police.
The police? Whatever for?
Well, tomorrow the Berkshires will prosecute you. That is what the police are for.
Don't, please, don't. I'll do anything you want, anything in the
Give
world.
me Robert Chiltern's letter.
Let me have time to think.
Give me Robert Chiltern's
I
letter.
don't have it with me. I'll give it to you
You know
tomorrow.
you are lying. Give it to me. It's wireless. This it?
Yes.
For so well-dressed a woman, Mrs. Cheveley, you have moments of admirable common sense. I congratulate you.
Won't you get me a glass of water, please?
Certainly.
Oh, no, thank you. Help me on with my cloak.
With pleasure.
I'm not going to try and harm Robert Chiltern again.
Fortunately, you won't have the chance.
Well, even if I had the chance, I wouldn't. On the contrary, I'm going to render him a great service.
I'm delighted to hear it. It is a reformation.
Yes, I can't stand to see so upright an English gentleman, so honourable an English gentleman, be so shamefully deceived and so...
Well,
I found that somehow Gertrude Chiltern's dying speech and confession has strayed into my possession.
what are you talking about, Mrs. Cheveley?
I mean that I am going to send Robert Chiltern the love letter that his wife wrote to you tonight.
Love letter?
I want you, I trust you, I'm coming to you, Gertrude.
Oh, you thieving, wretched woman! Must you always be thieving? Give me back my letter. You shall not leave my room until I have got it. I will take it from you by force.
Oh, Lord Goring really rang that you should show me out. Good evening, Lord Goring.
This is great news, since I can't find anyone in this house to talk to, and I'm full of interesting information. I feel like the latest edition of something or other.
Sir Robert is still at the Foreign Office, my lord.
Is Lady Chiltern not down yet?
Her ladyship has not yet left her room. Miss Chiltern has just come in from riding.
Ah, that is something.
Lord Caversham has been waiting some time in the library for Sir Robert. I told him your lordship was here.
Thank you. Would you mind telling him I've gone?
I shall do so, my lord.
Yes. Really, I don't want to meet my father 3 days running. It's a great deal too much excitement for any son. Father should be neither seen nor heard. That's the only proper basis for family life. Mothers are different. Mothers are darlings.
Well, sir, what are you doing here? Wasting your time as usual, I suppose?
My dear father, when one pays a visit, it is for the purpose of wasting other people's time, not one's own.
Have you been thinking over what we spoke about last night?
I've been thinking about nothing else.
Engaged to be married yet?
Not yet, but I hope to be before lunch.
Oh, you wouldn't have until dinner time if it would be of any convenience to you.
Thanks awfully, but I'd sooner be engaged before lunch.
Huh. Never know if you're serious or not.
Neither do I, father.
Take it you've read the Times this morning?
Times? Certainly not. I only ever read the Morning Post. All one needs to know about modern life is where the duchesses are. Anything else is quite demoralising.
Well, do you mean to say you've not read the Times leading article on Robert Chiltern's career?
Heavens no. Why, what does it say?
Well, what should it say, sir? Everything complimentary, of course. His speech on this Argentine canal scheme was one of the finest pieces of oratory ever delivered in the House since Canning.
Ah, never heard of Canning. Never wanted to. Did Chiltern uphold the scheme?
Uphold it, sir? How little you know him. He denounced it roundly, and the whole system of modern political finance. This speech is the turning point in his career. And as the Times points out, you should read this article, sir. Sir Robert Chiltern, highest flyer about young statesmen, brilliant orator, unblemished career, well-known integrity of character. Represents all that is best in British public life. They will never say that about you, sir.
I certainly hope not, father. But I'm thoroughly delighted what they say about Robert. Thoroughly delighted. It shows that he's got pluck.
He has more than pluck, sir. He has genius.
I prefer pluck. It's not so common nowadays as genius is.
I wish you were going to Parliament.
My dear father, only people who look dull ever go to the House of Commons, and only people who are dull succeed there.
Then why don't you do something useful in life?
I'm far too young.
Oh, I hate this affectation of youth. Far too prevalent nowadays.
Youth is not an affectation. Youth is an art.
Why don't you propose to that pretty Miss Chiltern?
So I'm of a very nervous disposition, father, especially in the mornings.
I don't suppose there's the smallest chance of her accepting you.
I don't know how the betting stands today.
If she did accept you, she'd be the prettiest fool in England.
Well, that's exactly what I should like to marry, father. Thoroughly sensible wife would reduce me to an absolute state of ecstasy in less than 6 months.
You don't deserve her, sir.
My dear father, if we men married the women we deserved, we would have a very bad time of it.
Oh, how do you do, Lord Caversham? I hope Lady Caversham is not well.
Oh, well, Lady Caversham is as usual. As usual.
Good morning, Miss Mabel.
And Lady Caversham's bonnets, are they at all better?
Oh, they've had a serious relapse, I'm sorry to say.
Good morning, Miss Mabel.
I hope an operation will not be necessary.
Oh, well, if it is, we shall have to give Lady Caversham a narcotic. Otherwise, she would never consent to have even a feather touch.
Good morning, Miss Mabel.
Oh, are you here? Of course you understand. After making your appointment, I am never going to speak to you again.
Oh, please don't say such a thing, Miss Mabel. Why, you're the one person in all of London I'd really like to have listen to me.
Lord Goring, I never believe a single word that either you or I say to each other.
You're quite right, my dear, quite right. Well, what you said about the other me.
Do you think you can make your son behave a little better? Occasionally, just as a change.
Oh, I'm sorry to say, Miss Chiltern, that I have absolutely no influence over my son at all. I wish I had. If I had, I know what I'd make him do.
I'm afraid he has one of those terribly weak natures that are not susceptible to influence.
He's heartless, very heartless.
Seems to me like I'm a little in the way here.
It is not good for you to be in the way and to know what people say on you behind your back.
I don't like at all knowing what people say about me behind my back. Makes me far too conceited.
And with that, my dear, I must bid you good morning.
Oh, I hope you're not going to leave me all alone with Lord Goring, especially at such an early hour in the day.
Well, I'm afraid I can't take him with me to Downing Street. It's not the Prime Minister's day for seeing the unemployed.
People who don't keep their appointments in the park are horrid.
Detestable.
I'm glad you admit it, but I wish you'd be so pleased about it.
I can't help it, sir. I'm always pleased when I'm with you.
Oh, then I suppose it was my duty to remain with you.
Well, of course it is.
Well, my duty is a thing I'm going to do on principle. It always depresses me. So I'm afraid I must leave you.
Please don't, Miss Mabel. There is something particular I want to say to you.
Oh, is it a proposal?
Well, yes, it is. I'm bound to say it is.
Oh, I'm so glad. That makes the second today.
The second today? What conceited ass has been impertinent enough to propose to you before I have proposed to you?
Tommy Trafford, of course. It is one of Tommy's days of proposing. He always proposes on Tuesdays and Thursdays during the season.
You didn't accept him, I hope.
I make it a rule never to accept Tommy. That's why he goes on proposing. Of course, as you didn't turn up this morning, I very nearly said yes. It would have been an excellent lesson both for him and for you if I had. It would have taught you both better manners.
Oh, bother Tommy Trafford. Tommy is a silliness lass. I love you.
I know. And I think you might have mentioned it before. I am sure I have given you heaps of opportunity.
Mabel, be serious. Please be serious.
That is the sort of thing a man always says to a girl before he has been married to her. He never says it afterwards.
Mabel, I have just told you that I love you. Can't you love me just a little in return?
You silly ass. If you knew anything about anything, which you don't, then you would know that I adore you. Everyone in London knows that except you. It is a public scandal the way I adore you. I have been going about for the past 6 months telling the whole of society I adore you. I wonder you consent to have anything to say. I have no character left at all. At least, I feel so happy that I am sure I have no character left at all.
No thanks.
Oh, dear. Do you know how awfully afraid I was of being refused?
And you have never been refused yet by anybody, have you, Arthur? I cannot imagine anybody refusing you.
Well, I'm not nearly good enough for you, Mabel.
Oh, I'm so glad, darling. I was afraid you were.
And it is only fair to tell you that I am fearfully extravagant.
But so am I, Arthur. So we are sure to agree. And now I must go and see Gertrude.
Oh, must you?
Yes.
Oh. Well, do tell her that I want to speak to her particularly. I've been waiting here all morning to see either her or Robert.
You mean to say that you didn't come here expressly to propose to me?
No, that was a flash of genius.
Your first.
I love.
I'm glad to hear it. Now, don't stir. I will be back in 5 minutes, and don't fall into any temptations while I'm away.
My dear Mabel, with you gone there are none. Makes me horribly dependent on you.
Oh,
Good morning, Theo. How pretty you look, Kitty.
how pale you're looking, Gertrude. It is most becoming.
Good morning, Lord Goring.
Good morning, Lady Chiltern.
I shall be in the conservatory under the second palm tree on the left.
The second on the left.
Yes, the usual palm tree.
Lady Chiltern, I have a certain amount of very good news to tell you. Last night, Mrs. Cheveley gave me up Robert's letter and I burnt it. Robert is safe.
Oh, safe. Oh, I'm so glad of that. What a good friend you are to him, to us.
There's only one person now that could be said to be in any danger.
Well, who is that?
Yourself.
I don't know what you mean.
Danger is too great a word. It is a word I should not have used, but I have something to tell you that may distress you, that terribly distresses me. Yesterday evening you wrote me a very handsome, womanly letter asking for my help. You wrote to me as one of your oldest friends, as one of your husband's oldest friends. Mrs. Cheveley got possession of that letter.
What use is it to her? Why should she not have it?
Lady Chiltern, I will be quite frank with you. Mrs. Jeanley puts a certain construction on that letter and proposes to send it to your husband.
What construction did she put on it? Oh, not that. Not that. If I am in trouble and needing your help, trusting you, propose to come to you that you may advise me, assist me, I don't want to be so horrible as that. And she proposes to send it to my husband. Tell me what happened. Tell me all that happened.
Mrs. Jeanley was concealed in a room adjoining my library, without my knowledge. I thought that the person waiting in that room to see me was yourself. Robert came by unexpectedly, and a chair or something fell in the room, and he forced his way in and discovered her. I still thought it was you. We had a terrible scene. At the end, he left me in anger, and Mrs. Jeanley got possession of your letter. She stole it. How or when, I don't know.
At what hour did this happen?
It was 10:30, and now I propose that we tell Robert the whole thing at once.
You want me to tell Robert that the woman that you expected last night was not Mrs. Cheeley, but myself? But it was I that you thought was concealed in a room in your house at 10:30 at night. You want me to tell him that?
Well, I think it is better that Robert should know the exact truth.
Well, I couldn't.
May I do it?
No.
Lady Chilton, you are wrong.
No, the letter must be intercepted, that is all. But how can I do it? Letters arrive for him every moment of the day. The secretary would open them and hand it to him. I dare not ask the servants to bring me his letters. Why don't you tell me what to do?
Pray be calm, Lady Chilton, and answer the questions I am to put to you. You said his secretary's opened his letters.
Yes.
Who's with him today? Mr. Trafford, isn't it?
No, Mr. Moffat, I think.
You can trust him?
How do I know?
Well, he'll do as you say, wouldn't he?
I think so.
Your letter was written on pink paper. He could identify it without reading it, couldn't he, by a colour?
I suppose so.
Is he in the house now?
Yes.
Then I shall go and see him myself and tell him that a certain letter written on pink paper is to be forwarded to Robert today, but at all costs, it must not reach him. This Robert is coming upstairs with a letter in his hand. It has reached him already.
Oh, you have saved his life. What have you done with mine?
Ah, my dear Arthur, I have to thank you for what you've done for me. I don't know how I can repay you.
Oh, my dear fellow, I'll tell you at once, under the usual palm tree. I mean, in the conservatory.
Lord Caversham.
Oh, that admirable father of mine really makes a habit of turning up at the wrong time. It's very hard, something very hard.
Good morning, Lady Chilton. Warmest congratulations to you, Chilton, on your speech last night. I've just left the Prime Minister's office, and you are to have the vacant seat in the cabinet.
A seat in the cabinet?
Yes, here is the Prime Minister's letter.
A seat in the cabinet?
Yes, and well, you deserve it too. You have everything we need nowadays in politics. High conduct, high moral code, high principles. Everything that you do not have and never will have, sir.
I don't like principles, father. I prefer prejudices.
I cannot accept this offer, Lord Caversham. I've made up my mind to decline it.
Decline it, sir?
My intention is to retire at once from public life.
Decline a seat in the cabinet and retire from public life? Never heard such damn nonsense in my entire existence. I beg your pardon, Lady Chilton. I beg your pardon. Don't grin like that. Lady Chilton, you are a sensible woman, the most sensible woman in London, the most sensible woman I know. Would you kindly stop your husband from taking such a... from making such a... Would you kindly do that, Lady Chilton?
But I think my husband is right in his determination, Lord Caversham. I approve of it.
You approve of it? Good heavens.
I admire him for it. I admire him immensely for it. I have never admired him so much before. He is finer even than I thought. You will go now and write your letter to the Prime Minister, won't you, Robert? Don't hesitate about it.
I suppose I'd better write at once. Such offers are not repeated. I will ask you to excuse me for a moment, Lord Caversham.
I may come with you, may I not, Robert?
Yes, certainly, Gertrude.
What is wrong with people in this house? Something up here, I suppose. Idiocy. Hereditary, too. Both of them. Wife as well as husband. And they're not such an old family. I can't understand it.
It's not idiocy, father, I assure you.
Then what is it, sir?
Well, it's what's known nowadays as a high moral tone, Father, that is all.
Oh, I hate these newfangled names. Same thing called idiocy 50 years ago. Can't stay in this house any longer.
Well, just go in there a moment, Father. Second palm tree to the left, usual palm tree.
What's that?
Sorry, Father, I forgot. The conservatory, Father, the conservatory. There's someone in there I want you to talk to.
What about?
About me, Father.
A subject on which not much eloquence is possible.
No, Father, but the lady's like me. She doesn't care much for eloquence in others. She wants to little out. Lady Chilton, why are you playing Mrs. Cheveley's cards?
I don't understand you.
Mrs. Cheveley made an attempt to ruin your husband, either to drive him from public life or make him adopt a dishonourable position. From the latter tragedy, you saved him. The former, you're now thrusting on him. Why should you do him the wrong Mrs. Cheveley tried to do and failed?
Goring.
Lady Chilton, allow me. You wrote me a letter saying that you trusted me and wanted my help. Now's the moment when you really want my help. Now's the moment when you've got to trust me, to trust in my counsel and judgment. You love Robert. Do you want to kill his love for you? What sort of existence will he have if you rob him of the fruits of his ambition, if you take from him the splendour of a great political career, you close the doors of public life against him? Why should you scourge him with the rods for a sin done in his youth, before he knew you, before he knew himself? Don't make any terrible mistake, Lady Chilton. A woman who can keep a man's love and love him in return has done all the world wants of women, or should want of them.
But it is my husband himself who wishes to retire from public life. He feels it is his duty. It was he who first said so.
Rather than lose your love, Robert would do anything, wreck his whole career, as he's on the brink of doing now. He is making for you a terrible sacrifice, Lady Chilton. Take my advice, do not accept a sacrifice so great. If you do, you will live to repent it bitterly. We men and women are not made to accept such great sacrifices. We are not worthy of them. And besides, Robert has been punished enough.
We have both been punished. I set him up too high.
Well, do not for that reason set him down now too low. If he has fallen from his altar, do not thrust him into the mire. Failure to Robert would be the very mire of shame. Power. Power is his passion. He would lose everything, even his power to feel love. Your husband's love is in your hands. At this moment, your husband's life is in your hands. Don't mar both for him.
Gertrude, here's the draft of my letter. Shall I read it to you?
Let me see it.
What are you doing?
I have learned much from Lord Caversham, and I will not spoil your life for you, nor see you spoil it for me as a useless sacrifice.
Gertrude, my wife.
You can forget. Men easily forget, and I can forgive. That is how women help the world. I see that now.
My wife. My wife. Arthur, it seems I always to be in your debt.
Oh, dear no, Robert, your debt is Lady Chilton, not to me.
I owe you much. Now tell me, what are you going to ask just as Lord Caversham came in just now?
Well, you are your sister's guardian. I want your consent to my marriage with her, that is all.
I am so glad. So glad.
Lady Chilton.
My sister to be your wife?
Yes.
Arthur, I'm deeply sorry, but the thing is quite out of the question. I have Mabel's future happiness to think of, and I don't think her happiness will be safe in your hands. And I cannot have her sacrificed.
Sacrifice?
Yes, utterly sacrificed. Loveless marriages are horrible, but there is one thing worse than a loveless marriage. A marriage in which there is love, but on one side only. Faith, but on one side only. Devotion, but on one side only. And in which one of the two hearts is sure to be broken.
No, I love Mabel. There is no room in my life for any other woman.
No, but if they love each other, why should they not be married?
Arthur cannot bring Mabel the love she deserves.
What reason do you have to say that?
You really require me to tell you?
Certainly I do.
As you wish. When I called upon you yesterday, I found Mrs. Cheveley concealed in one of your rooms. It was between 10 and 11 o'clock at night. I do not wish to say any more. Your relations with Mrs. Cheveley have, as I said to you yesterday, nothing whatsoever to do with me. And I know you're engaged to be married to her one. This fascination she exercised over you seems to have returned. You spoke to me about her last night as a woman pure and stainless, as of a woman of whom you respected and honoured. That may be so. But I cannot place my sister's life in your hands. It would be unjust, infamously unjust to her.
Then I have nothing more to say.
Robert, it was not Mrs. Cheapley who Lord Goring expected last night.
What's from Mrs. Cheapley? Who was it then?
Lady Tilton,
It was your own wife, Robert. Yesterday afternoon, Lord Goring told me that if I was ever in trouble, I could come to him for help, as he was our oldest and best friend. Later on, after that terrible scene in this room, I wrote to him, telling him that I trusted him, that I needed him, that I was coming to him. Yes, that letter. I didn't go to Lord Goring's after all. I felt it was from ourselves alone that help could come. Pride made me think that. Mrs. Cheapley went. She stole my letter and sent it to you anonymously this morning, that you should think. Oh, Robert, I cannot tell you what she wished you to think.
What? Had I fallen so low in your eyes that you thought for even a moment I could have doubted your goodness? Gertrude, you are to me the white light of all good things, and sin could never touch you. After you can go to Mabel, you can have my best wishes. Look, there is no name at the head of this letter. The brilliant Mrs. Cheapley does not seem to have noticed. There should be a name.
Let me write yours. It was you I trusted and need. You and none else.
well, really, Lady Tilton, I think I should have back my own letter.
No. You should have Mabel.
I hope she hasn't changed her mind. It's been 20 minutes since I saw her last.
Lord Goring, I think your father's conversation much more improving than yours. I am only going to talk to Lord Caversham in the future, and always under the usual palm tree.
Darling.
What does this mean, sir? You don't mean to tell me that this charming young lady has been foolish enough to accept you?
Yes, Father. And Chiltern's been wise enough to accept the seat on the cabinet.
I'm very pleased to hear that, Chiltern. If the country doesn't go to the dogs or the radicals, we'll have you Prime Minister someday.
Luncheon is on the table, my ladies.
You'll stop to luncheon, Lord Caversham, won't you?
A pleasure. And I shall drive you round to Downing Street afterwards. You have a great future ahead of you, sir. A great future. Which is more than I can say to you. I fear that your career will have to be entirely domestic.
Yes, Father. I prefer it domestic.
And if you don't make this charming young lady an ideal husband, I'll cut you off with a shilling.
Ideal husband? Oh, I don't think I should like that. It sounds like something in the next world.
What do you want him to be then, dear?
He can be what he chooses. All I want is to be a real wife to him.
Oh, I say, there's a great deal of common sense in that, isn't there, Lady Chiltern?
Reverend, is it love you feel for me, or is it any pity?
It is love, Robert. Love and only. For both of us, a new life is beginning.
Ah.
Say.